I just made one more video because it's not possible to see the calculator screen, and I did figure out how to put polysmlt on my emulator. So I'm just going to redo this problem here on the emulator so you can watch this again. So the first thing you do on your calculator is you press the apps button. Remember, we would always press the apps button to do compound interest problems. Now we're going to use it to solve simultaneous equations. So they're equations that have two variables and two equations, this equation. Each one has the variables x and y. We're going to use polysmlt to figure it out. And so just we hit any key here. And then we go to the simultaneous equation solver, number 2. And then we say that there's two equations, two unknowns. The rest of it you can kind of leave as is. Press next. Next corresponds to this button graph. And then you see that there's like 4 numbers here, and there's 2 numbers here. The 2 numbers here on the right are these 2 numbers, 10,000 and 108,800. The 4 numbers on the left are the coefficients, or the numbers that go in front of the x and the y. There is no x and y because this is a way of solving equations that we don't talk about in this class. We use matrices to represent only the coefficients, and we ignore the variables, and then you end up finding the values of the variables with this process. But you don't need to know that to use this. Basically, just arrange your equations so that x is the first term and y is the second term, and then all the constant terms are on the right, and then you'll be able to use this. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the coefficients 1 and 1 here. There is no coefficient here, but when you don't have a coefficient, it's a 1. Okay, it's not a 0. 0 would make this whole thing 0. 1, it just keeps its value. So 1x is the same thing as x, right? So we put 1 in for the first coefficient, and then the y is also, the coefficient will be y, and then the constant term is 10,000. 10,000, okay. And then, and it doesn't show you the whole value, but we just put in 10,000. And then we put a 12, and we put a 5, and we put 108,800. 12, a 5, and 108, I'm sorry, not 8,000, 108,800. 108,800. There we go, enter. Okay, now you're pretty much done. All you can do is press this button that says solve, and it's going to figure out what are the x and y values for these two simultaneous equations. And they are x, there's the first one, 8,400, and y is the second one, 1,600. So that's how you use polysmlt.